Many on the dissident right argue that white people are entitled to a homeland, grounding this claim in the idea that they are the indigenous people of Europe. On the surface, this position is defensible, just as other groups assert their right to preserve their heritage, language, and land. It is logically consistent for whites to seek the same. There is nothing inherently wrong with saying Europeans have ancestral claims to Europe. The problem, however, lies in the conceptual framework many adopt when making this case, namely, the invocation of indigeneity. While well-intentioned, this rhetoric is a categorical mismatch with the nature of Western civilization. Indigeneity, as it is widely understood in contemporary discourse, is defined by a refusal to deviate from tradition. Indigenous cultures are often described as being grounded in their specific ecological, historical, and spiritual contexts. Their societies are oriented toward preservation rather than transformation. Indigenous knowledge systems, often called ways of knowing, are holistic, orally transmitted, and resistant to abstraction or generalization. These traditions offer valuable perspectives, but they are inherently conservative and localist. By contrast, the West's defining impulse is progress, not permanence. Since the Middle Ages, Western thinkers have conceived of civilization as a cumulative process, one in which each generation builds upon the intellectual achievements of its predecessors. The Western mind, animated by what we might call a Promethean spirit, seeks to extend knowledge, break frontiers, and reshape the world. From the scholastic method to the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution, the West has been a culture of dynamism, not stasis. Its intellectual heritage is characterized not by reverence for the past, but by critique, revision, and synthesis. While the Romantic era briefly flirted with nostalgia for the pre-modern, even its most influential thinkers, like Rousseau or Herder, envisioned this return to roots as a thought experiment, not a permanent ethic. And despite Romanticism's temporary embrace of the noble savage, Western civilization has rarely looked backward for very long. From Galileo Galilei to Isaac Newton to Charles Darwin, the West has consistently exalted those who challenged old doctrines and created new paradigms. Exploration offers another illustrative contrast. The great voyages of discovery, Leif Erikson, Christopher Columbus, Ferdinand Magellan, James Cook, were driven by an insatiable Western desire to venture beyond the known. Indeed, the concise Encyclopedia of Explorers lists 274 major figures in the history of exploration. Only 15 are non-Western, and none of the non-Western expeditions occurred after the 15th century. While indigenous peoples developed rich relationships with their native lands, European men developed ships, sextants, and the courage to abandon their lands in search of new ones. Even today, the West upholds a deep respect for originality and dissent. Its core institutions, universities, journals, and public discourse, are designed to reward innovation, critical thinking, and rigorous debate. While the recent wave of cancel culture may suggest otherwise, its influence is waning, and a renewed appetite for heterodoxy is emerging. In response to ideological conformity, anti-establishment thinkers have founded independent institutions like the Center for Heterodox Social Science, reaffirming the Western tradition of open inquiry. At its best, Western culture remains adversarial in spirit, thriving on scientific debate, legal contest, and philosophical disputation. In contrast, the indigenous model privileges harmony, continuity, and consensus within a stable worldview, treating inherited wisdom as sacred rather than provisional. To be clear, many indigenous individuals have integrated successfully into Western society and contribute meaningfully to its institutions. But as a political concept, indigeneity is fundamentally incompatible with the Western ethos. It is rooted in an ethic of cultural and epistemological closure. The West, by contrast, thrives on openness, on testing, questioning, and changing. So while it is perfectly reasonable for white dissidents to advocate for a homeland, just as other ethnic groups do, it is a mistake to frame this claim in terms borrowed from indigenous politics. Doing so not only misunderstands the unique trajectory of European civilization, it also undermines the very cultural achievements dissidents seek to protect. The West was not born out of permanence. It was born out of struggle, discovery, and intellectual rebellion. It does not rest. It revolts. To appropriate the language of indigeneity is to misrepresent Western identity as something primitive, fixed, and anti-modern. This is not only historically inaccurate, it is strategically unwise. Westerners should not romanticize the past in the name of reclaiming a future. The better path lies in embracing what made the West exceptional in the first place, its refusal to stand still. Appropriating the rhetoric of primitive cultures won't rejuvenate an emasculated West.